Sonny Dykes says Nate Palmer asserted himself during spring practice. Devin Deal is excited about the young edge rushers in the stud linebacker room. Colton Deiri says the team needs to be more physical if they're going to run the ball better. Bud Clark says Trey Watson told him TCU is going to lead the country in interceptions. All the latest from Big 12 Media Days coming at you right now on Locked On Horned Frogs.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. I've been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 years. A man named Astro Frog on Twitter. Astros fan, I assume. That's okay. None of us are perfect. We all have our flaws. But he asked me when it's going to become 13 years. It should be in September of this year because I started covering the team in September of 2012 as a student that season. Super excited. Team won 7 games, I think, lost to Michigan State in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Big 12 Media Days. I was there today. Sonny Dykes talked about the run game. I asked him about the running back room. I got some one-on-one interviews with players. I also got to meet some outstanding people. Devin Deal's parents were there. They introduced themselves, said that they frequently watch the show. Thank you so much for saying hi. I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And I'm so happy that 2 of your sons are here at TCU. I know you have another son and daughter that are great athletes. Maybe they'll end up being Frogs one day too. We'll have to see, but it was great to meet them in person. So yeah, a fun day. We're going to, later on in the show, I'll share a one-on-one interview with Colton Deiri. Over the next few days, I'll have these interviews. I'm going to spread them out. Devin Deal tomorrow. We'll hear from him. Maybe Bud Clark as well. Kind of see how I feel about it. But Colton Deiri today, that'll be in segment 2. We start, though, with Sonny Dykes, his press conference. He was there at the podium at about 12:30 this afternoon, or I guess yesterday afternoon because you're watching this on Thursday. And I asked him, I said, hey, how do you feel about your running back room? What are your expectations specifically for Nate Palmer and for Jeremy Payne? He mentioned that Nate Palmer asserted himself during the spring. If I had to make an educated guess right now, I still believe it's a position that will be figured out during the year. So just because this person starts in the season opener, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the dude all year long. But my guess is when they line up to play North Carolina in game 1 of the season, Nate Palmer is going to be back there in the backfield as your starting running back. He'll get the first chance to get out there and see what he can do. He also said, though, that Jeremy Payne was their most productive running back last season, which I think is true. I agree with him. I hadn't thought about it a lot because last year, at least from a stats perspective, the running production was really down. Cam Cook, it didn't work out. They went to a running back by committee system after that. But Jeremy Payne did show some flashes. I thought he was really good in the Kansas game. I thought he made some plays against Baylor, specifically in the passing game, catching some screen passes, making some guys miss. Houston didn't play super well, but nobody did. It was a rough night altogether. So he showed some good things. And I felt like if he got more consistent opportunities, maybe we could have and would have seen more from him, but it didn't work out that way. Sonny also talked about Trent Battle and Kavorian Barnes. I think those guys are going to get their opportunities as well. But as I've said before, I feel like both of them are there to fill a specific role. I believe Kavorian Barnes is going to be your short yardage back. Trent Battle is a really good player, good veteran presence. He'll get chances to tote the rock, but I don't see him as someone who has run the ball 15 to 20 times a game. And you might wonder, why is this important? Like in this day and age of football, as running backs have become, I don't know if less valuable is the right way to phrase it. The NFL certainly went through a phase. I think it's actually kind of swinging the other direction now, but the NFL certainly went through a phase where running backs weren't valued super highly. The idea was get everything you can out of them, that rookie contract, probably not going to re-sign them and ink them to a long-term deal where you're paying them a lot of money. You move on. And if you have a good offensive line and if you can block up front well, then you can find players that can be productive at that position. And I don't think the TCU coaching staff would admit this or say this, but I feel like that's kind of how they've approached the running back room the last couple of years as well. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they really thought that Cam Cook was going to be, a guy that could rush for over 100 yards most weeks and be a really productive player, and just didn't work. And they could very well believe that about Nate Palmer. It is interesting. I mean, Nate got 11 carries last year. He got those carries in the bowl game, but that was it. He wasn't somebody that they showcased during the season. Now, yeah, you can grow and develop. I mean, we're not that far removed from a time where freshmen weren't expected to play right away when they stepped on campus. It was about sitting, watching, observing, learning. But it's just intriguing to me that even though he didn't get a lot of opportunities in his freshman season, he's emerged now as the dude. I'm cautiously optimistic about where they stand. I feel like we heard a lot about how positive things were with his group last year, and then the rug kind of got pulled out from under us. But I do believe in Jeremy Payne. I think Nate Palmer has a lot of promise as well. And it does feel to me that they still have this idea in their mind of, we have a number of guys that can do it, whether it's one player emerging or a collective effort, we can be a good team running the ball. But Sonny said, he was like, look, we have to run the ball better. And that's not a secret, but it's true. And he said this offense is going to be a much better version of themselves if they can run the ball effectively and do that on a consistent basis. So that's the run game part of it. He also shared a lot of other thoughts in the 15 minutes that he was up there talking. He said Josh Hoover throws the ball as well as anyone he's ever coached, which, I mean, Sonny coach Nick Foles, who went on to have an outstanding pro career. He's had good quarterbacks. I mean, Max Duggan, not your prototypical pocket passer, but really good QB and had arm talent. I mean, the mechanics weren't always there, but he could sling the ball down the field. Brought a lot of intangibles to the table. I'm excited about Josh Hoover and what he can do this year. Again, I think the best version of this team is one that has a little more balance, but with those weapons on the outside, Eric McAllister, Jordan Dwyer. Eric McAllister was telling me today, when I asked him about Jordan Dwyer, he was like, I've never seen through spring practice. He basically said the amount of go balls, the deep passes that were being completed, Jordan Dwyer, was insane. He's got speed to burn. He can make plays. And, I mean, I guess they had a vertical threat with Jack Besh and Savion Williams to a certain degree, but it does feel like it's been a little while. Quentin Johnston was a great wide receiver. He was just different in that, he used his size and his frame. It's been a while since they had like a true burner on the outside. They've had a lot of shifty and speedy slot guys that they'll use. But Sonny said that Josh throws the ball as well as anybody that he's ever coached. He also mentioned a couple times in his opening statement, and then was asked about it later, the revenue sharing era that we're walking into. And he specifically used Bud Clark as an example of a dude that he said he thought Bud was ready for the NFL, but they had a conversation and Bud was wanting to come back to TCU, but he was basically like, I want to be compensated fairly. I need to provide for my family. So Sonny said, okay, well, your people meet with my people and we'll figure this out. And they did. So he's coming back for another year. And in his mind, that's how college football in this new world where players are getting paid, how it should work. And he seemed to throw a shot at Texas Tech by saying he thinks the way it shouldn't work is by paying a lot of money to high school athletes who haven't proved anything on the field. The way the TCU wants to go about it is by giving compensation to guys that have been productive players, that have shown things on the football field as Horned Frogs. He also, and he mentioned this a couple weeks ago when he was talking to the media, he emphasized that he's hopeful that everyone's going to follow the rules. And if there's one famous thing about college football that we know, people love following the rules, especially when it comes to getting talent, recruiting, right? But he's right. I mean, this shift in the way that we're paying players, it could lead to more parity. But the only way that's going to happen and the only way that's going to work is if the rules are interpreted as they're intended and we sort of get away from these slush fund, booster led, hey, let's just money whip this guy and get him on our team. If we get away from that a little bit and there's more of an even playing field in how much you can spend and how you allocate your resources, then I think that's really beneficial for TCU. But it's predicated on everybody following the rules and the College Sports Commission, which is the new entity that's in charge of enforcing these rules. If they punish people who don't follow the rules, right? Like that's the only way it's really going to work. When we come back, my one-on-one interview with Colton Deiri, center for TCU football. That's coming up here on Locked on Horned Frogs, your team every day. Thank you to FanDuel, FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. Check it out today. Summer's in full swing. Major League Baseball happening every night of the week. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Just open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. They have new daily promotions every single day of the week. It's easy to use. There's fast payouts, and it makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. There's live betting, parlays. It's all available to you at FanDuel.com on the FanDuel app. Again, new customers, first $5 bet, you win that bet. Get $150 in bonus bets. FanDuel, it's where the game starts. Official betting partner of Major League Baseball and a proud sponsor of the Locked On Network. So TCU had 6 players there. I got to talk to 5 of them, and this was Colton Deiri. Colton Deiri sliding over to center this year after James Brockermeyer left for the University of Miami. He played guard for the past 2 seasons. He talks about that transition, some of the young offensive linemen, how TCU is going to be more physical and improve their run game. That's all coming up here right now on Locked on Horned Frogs.
Here at Big 12 Media Days with Colton Deiri. Colton, I know you played center before, but what's that, I guess, transition back been like from guard and moving over?
Yeah, I think just gaining control back of the offensive line, taking that leadership role and going in every week and every practice that we have and just knowing that I got the guys who trust me next to me and I trust the guys next to me. And I think just getting back to that center role, being able to lead the offensive line and take that responsibility, that if something bad goes wrong, I'm able to take that responsibility. I know I can hold that on my back and be able to work, overcome it, and find what we have to do to get better. So,
for fans, I mean, beyond just snapping the ball, like how much is involved pre-snap in the center position?
Yeah, I mean, you're when you walk up to the ball, you run up to the ball. Sorry, you run up to the ball. You're getting down. You got to read the front. You got to find out what I typically will look at backers, how the DBs are playing, looking for cat pressures, looking at all that kind of stuff. See if the corner's going to blitz. If they're in double 3 techs, I know they're likely to bring MOX. And just that kind of, like, you got to read blitzes, you got to be able to read the defense and understand what's going to happen. That all comes transparent through preparation. When you're sitting in there preparing all week, you got to sit there and watch these defenses that you're going to play, and you'll be able to sit there and when you get on the ball, you're like, all right, I know this is coming because this is what front they're in. So just that kind of aspect of things. So,
Andy Avalos is known as throwing a lot of different things at people. How much in practice do you get? Like, does he send a bunch of different blitzes and different looks to try to get you guys ready and get the defense ready?
Yeah. Coach Avalos, when he came in here, our O-line coach always told us, he was like, you're never going to go against this many blitzes in a game, different types of blitzes. And, and I think it's great. I think it definitely shocks the offense because we're sitting there trying to figure out what blitz they're running half the time, and they're running a completely different one. So I think it works. It definitely gets the O-line on their toes, they're thinking way too hard. So it's a great thing, though. I like it.
I know you guys want to be physical. How important is it to take that next step in the run game? What are you guys trying to do to be more consistent there?
I think first off, it just starts with our mentality. I mean, that's, I think, the biggest thing for us. It's definitely not we have the bodies and the big guys to be able to run the football, but I think the thing we've developed over this past spring is just our mentality and just going out there and just trying to dominate whoever's on the other side of the ball. That's our teammates or other teams. That's just we're trying to build that identity of being able to run the football, being a hard-nosed football team that can do that stuff. So,
Coach Clements, what's his role since he stepped in, and does he get a lot of interaction with you guys, or is he more in the advisory role?
So Coach Clements, I mean, that was a great hire. He's come in, and the best thing about Coach Clements is he's not all over top of you, getting all in your face and stuff. He's more of the coach that when if a guy messes up, he'll take him to the side and just show him, walk him through it, especially the young guys. And the best part about Coach Clements, too, is he's helped me elevate my game as well, with his knowledge. And he helps me with, little things. He'll pick at little things that I do that I need to work on, and I'll sit there and work on them. And, it's helped me elevate my game throughout last spring and hopefully into the season. So.
I know you have a wrestling background. How does that help you when it comes to offensive line play?
Yeah, I think my wrestling background is everything to me. I grew up playing football and wrestling since I was 4. Wrestling, I was pretty well-known wrestler in Pennsylvania at the time when I did wrestle. Got up to number 2 in the country, and my senior year. And I think just the aspect of being able to wrestle and be able to bend and your flexibility, it helps tremendously, especially playing at center in that aspect of things. So, yeah.
Final thing for you, Ryan Hughes. I know that's a guy the coaching staff's excited about, and Sonny even said he was kind of surprised at how ready he was when he stepped in. What does he do well that has made him a contender to be the starting tackle this year?
Ryan, he knows the game. That's the best thing about Ryan is he understands things before they're going to happen at such a young age. It only takes guys two years to understand that by playing in a lot of games. I mean, Ryan's only started 1 game, and he's played in a couple, but he already understands how the game works, when to look for pressures that are going to be coming, and he understands all that stuff. And Ryan definitely turned up his physicality this past offseason. He's growing up a lot at such a young age, and it's great to see a young guy like that be able to grow up and try and take that responsibility over.
So that's Colton Deiri from Big 12 Media Days. I mean, that transition to center, it's not going to be much of a transition for him. Now, it is crazy. You think about the stereotype around sports, and I feel like people have been around athletes enough and hopefully understand enough about the game that they don't think this anymore. But the idea that these guys are dumb jocks is so dumb and stupid, because you hear about all the things that he's processing as he's running up to the line, getting over the ball. How is the defense aligned? Where is the pressure coming from? What are the corners doing? What are the safeties doing? I mean, even to the third level of defense, looking at the secondary, and it's all happening in 20 to 25 seconds. Ball gets snapped. There can be motions and changes within that. So just a lot going on pre-snap that he's responsible for. The mentality shift, right? They want to be a more physical, hard-nosed football team. Okay. I mean, I think there's also the aspect of just executing better, but I understand that the physical nature of the game, you have to have that mentality of, I'm going to win this battle against the guy in front of me, and that's where it starts. I think the Randy Clements hire is really underrated, and it was encouraging for me to hear that he's taking people to the side, the attention to detail, having someone with that level of experience as your assistant offensive line coach, where he can work one-on-one with these guys and say, okay, you're probably thinking about this, but let's really get deep into the weeds about how we can play this position well, how we can elevate our game. I wish I would have thought to ask him about Cade Bennett coming back from injury, but wanted to highlight Ryan Hughes because Sonny was like, this is a dude that kind of came out of nowhere last year. He was a freshman that obviously they thought he was a good player. They wouldn't have recruited him if they didn't think that, but they didn't see him as someone who could play in year one. He gets a start late in the season. He gets some opportunities late in the year. I still think there will be some growing pains because it's sort of inevitable, and playing that tackle position is really tough. But if he and Ben Taylor Whitfield have the type of talent and presence that the coaching staff is talking about, then they're going to be really good not only this year, but down the line as well as they get more comfortable with those reps and with their responsibilities on a week-to-week basis. But enjoyed talking to Colton Deiri about the team, where they stand, and this might end up being a really good move for the offensive line as a whole. If he can play that center position well, get all the communication, make all the calls pre-snap, then that's going to help all 5 of those guys across the offensive line as they try to take a step forward in 2025. When we come back, some more thoughts from Media Days. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. So just some notes from the players that I had a chance to talk to. And again, I'll run these interviews over the next few days. But Bud Clark, I asked him about Trey Watson, new position coach after Paul Gonzalez goes to Baylor. TCU hires Trey Watson from Cal. And I said, look, he has a reputation of being a guy that helps his secondary players get turnovers. Like at Cal, they got takeaways. And Bud said the first thing that Trey Watson told him when he met him was that TCU was going to lead the nation in interceptions. Now, hey, obviously, a little coach speak there probably. But at the same time, I used to have this belief when it came to turnovers and takeaways that you couldn't really coach it. It was instinctual. And I still think that's true to a certain extent. Like when I think of Bud Clark, this is a dude that's not afraid to take risk. He's got good instincts. Yes, he'll go up a big play from time to time, but he also will step in front of the ball and pick it off and take it to the house like he did in the playoff game. There's plenty of other instances throughout his career. So I feel like you have to have good ball skills to do it. But I do remember, this was 5 or 6 years back now, I was talking to Joey McGuire, who at the time was at Baylor as an assistant coach. And that season, he had been named their head coach of turnovers. Like he was working with the defense, and that was his responsibility. And he started this mantra of take 3. They were trying to get 3 takeaways a game. And that defense really did take a big step forward. So maybe it is something with, more intensity around it, with just that thought at the front of your mind as a defense that they can instill a little bit more. And as I said, Trey Watson was doing it at Cal. Like that was a team that led the Pac-12 when it existed and led the nation in takeaways and interceptions. And Bud Clark is that type of player that can go get the ball. So excited to see where he lands with a new position coach. Sonny Dykes is really excited about Bud Clark returning. He made a point a couple different times during today's proceedings about it was just very significant to this coaching staff and to him that they were able to get him back for another year. I asked Devin Deal about some of the young edge rushers, and he said he really likes this group. He's excited about Jonathan Bax and Chad Woodfork, but of course, for him personally, working to improve and build on an outstanding season last year. He's a special player, man. It was fun to talk to him. I think he's set up for a big year, and the way he closed the year strong, I just feel like that's going to be a springboard for his ability to rush the passer this upcoming season. Eric McAllister talked about Malcolm Kelly, another player that mentioned their position coach, and I didn't know that he was thinking about this, but I asked him about his relationship with Malcolm Kelly, and he said Malcolm Kelly is the reason that he did not entertain the idea of declaring for the draft early or hitting the transfer portal, that he loves Malcolm Kelly. He's a great coach, but a better person. He has a good relationship with those receivers. And because of that, in his mind, there were no other options but to come back to TCU. He's going to be the number 1 dude this year. Like he will be the guy that's catching the ball on a week-to-week basis from Josh Hoover. And we saw that big playability last season against Kansas, against Texas Tech, in the bowl game against Louisiana, a little bit in that Utah game, had a drive where he had some big catches. He mentioned he wants to make an impact throughout the entire game. Last year, it was sort of picking your spots, finding opportunities when you can. He wants to come into this year with the chance to make big plays in every game. He'll have those chances coming up soon. Tomorrow, more sound from Media Days. It's Locked on Horned Frogs, your team every day. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're also free and available wherever you get your podcast.